Good evening. Tonight, we bring you a story that is rapidly unfolding and could reshape the future of the Middle East, and perhaps the world. The shadow war between Iran and Israel has exploded into open conflict, shifting from years of covert operations and proxy battles to direct military strikes that are now impossible to ignore. This isn't just another regional skirmish, it's a direct clash between two of the Middle East's most powerful nations, with consequences that could reverberate far beyond their borders and impact the entire globe. The world is watching with growing anxiety, as the shockwaves from this conflict threaten to destabilize the already fragile global order and spark wider unrest. Old rivalries, modern weaponry, and high-stakes diplomacy are colliding in real time, creating a volatile mix that could escalate at any moment. The stakes reach far beyond Iran and Israel, risking the involvement of global superpowers and raising fears of a much larger confrontation. The United States, Israel's key ally, faces a precarious dilemma, balancing its commitments in the region with the risk of being drawn into a wider war, while China and Russia are warning Washington to stay out, signaling their own interests and red lines. Their intervention turns what began as a regional crisis into a global test of power, diplomacy, and resolve among the world's most influential nations. This is about more than missiles, it's about oil, alliances, and the delicate balance of power in a region long defined by conflict, where every move can have far-reaching economic and political consequences. Decisions made in Tehran, Jerusalem, Washington, Beijing, and Moscow will ripple worldwide, affecting everything from energy prices and financial markets to global security and the daily lives of millions. Tonight, we break down what's happening, why this is happening now, and what it means for all of us, no matter where we live. We'll examine the latest attacks, the motives behind China and Russia's stern warnings, and the difficult choices now facing the United States and its allies as they navigate this dangerous new reality. The world is holding its breath, waiting to see if diplomacy can prevail over the drumbeat of war, or if we are witnessing the dawn of a new and even more dangerous era in the Middle East. This crisis is the result of years of covert attacks, cyber warfare, and assassinations. But now, it's out in the open. For decades, both Iran and Israel have waged a shadow war, operating in the dark through intelligence operations, sabotage, and targeted killings. But the latest events have shattered that secrecy, thrusting their conflict into the global spotlight. It began with a precision airstrike on Iran's consulate in Damascus, killing top Iranian officials. The attack was a bold escalation, striking not just a military target but a diplomatic one, sending shockwaves through the region and drawing immediate international attention. Iran blamed Israel and vowed retaliation, as the world braced for what came next. The rhetoric grew heated, with Iranian leaders promising a response that would not go unanswered, and global powers urging restraint to prevent a wider conflict. Iran responded with a massive aerial assault, hundreds of drones and missiles launched directly at Israel, a first in their history. The skies over Israel lit up as air raid sirens wailed and civilians scrambled for safety, marking a dramatic escalation in hostilities. Israel's air defenses, aided by the US, UK, and Jordan, intercepted most projectiles, limiting physical damage but sending shock waves through both nations. The unprecedented cooperation between allies highlighted the seriousness of the threat and the potential for the conflict to draw in other countries. The psychological impact was enormous. The Rubicon had been crossed. For ordinary people in both countries, fear and uncertainty became part of daily life, as the specter of war loomed larger than ever before. Israel's response was swift but measured. Explosions near an airbase in Isfahan, close to Iran's nuclear facilities, sent a clear message of reach and restraint. By targeting a sensitive military site without causing mass casualties, Israel signaled its capabilities while avoiding all-out war, at least for now. Both nations now stand on a knife's edge, their citizens gripped by fear of a wider war. Families huddle in shelters, glued to news updates, uncertain if the next attack will come within hours or days. In Israel, life paused as people rushed to shelters. In Iran, the Isfahan strike fueled anxiety. The sense of vulnerability is shared, as both societies grapple with the reality that escalation could spiral out of control at any moment. Beyond these direct attacks, proxy wars across the region have already claimed countless lives. Militias and armed groups backed by both nations continue to fight in Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq, turning cities into battlegrounds and deepening the humanitarian crisis. Schools are closed, public gatherings restricted, and tension is palpable. Daily routines have been upended, and the sense of normalcy has vanished, replaced by a constant state of alert. The region waits, uncertain of the next move in this dangerous game. Every hour brings new rumors, new fears, and the hope that diplomacy might still prevail before the situation spirals further. The human toll, though limited in this exchange, remains a grave concern. Even a single life lost is a tragedy, and the threat of greater suffering hangs over millions as aid workers brace for the worst. The escalation has left the entire Middle East on edge. From capitals to small towns, the sense of unease is unmistakable, as leaders and citizens alike wonder what tomorrow will bring. Every move now risks igniting a much larger conflict. Military forces are on high alert, and a single miscalculation could set off a chain reaction with devastating consequences. The world watches, hoping for restraint. As diplomats scramble for solutions and ordinary people pray for peace, the fate of the region, and perhaps the world, hangs in the balance. As tensions soared, China stepped in, not with threats but with a call for de-escalation. For Beijing, Middle East stability is a core interest. The region supplies much of the oil that fuels China's economy. A war that disrupts the Strait of Hormuz would be catastrophic for China, sending energy prices skyrocketing. China's diplomacy is pragmatic: protect its energy security and avoid entanglement in a conflict with little upside. By urging restraint, China positions itself as a responsible global power and a counterweight to U.S. interventionism. Its recent brokering of Iran-Saudi ties shows its growing regional influence. China's message to Washington is layered: avoid escalation, and recognize Beijing's role in shaping the region's future. The days of unilateral U.S. dominance are fading. China wants a seat at the table, and its economic leverage gives it a strong claim. The world is witnessing a new balance of power. Russia, too, has issued stern warnings, especially to the United States. Moscow's alliance with Iran is strategic, rooted in military cooperation and shared opposition to U.S. influence. Russia frames Iran's actions as justified responses, using its UN platform to block Western condemnation. Nuclear concerns loom large. Russia opposes strikes on Iranian nuclear sites, fearing catastrophe and regional arms races. The Middle East crisis distracts the West from Ukraine and drives up oil prices, benefiting Moscow. Russia's message: stay out or risk chaos that serves no one's interests but its own. In Washington, President Trump's response has been a balancing act. Publicly, he reaffirmed America's commitment to Israel and condemned Iran's attack. Privately, he urged Israel to show restraint and avoid a large-scale retaliation. The U.S. is determined to support Israel but wary of being drawn into a direct war with Iran. The administration's goal: contain the conflict, not escalate it. U.S. military assets have been repositioned, both to help defend Israel and to deter further Iranian aggression. American forces directly participated in intercepting Iranian missiles, while signaling overwhelming force if U.S. interests are threatened. Trump's strategy is muscular deterrence, projecting strength but pressing for de-escalation. The dilemma: appear strong and reliable, yet prevent a regional war. Every move is scrutinized by allies and adversaries alike. The president's decisions now will determine whether the region steps back from the brink. The world is watching Washington's next move. The stakes could not be higher. The U.S. faces two perilous paths. Supporting a massive Israeli retaliation risks dragging America into a direct, bloody conflict with Iran, a far more formidable adversary than past foes. Such a war would destabilize the global economy and mire the U.S. in another costly entanglement, yet urging restraint risks appearing weak, damaging America's credibility as an ally and emboldening Iran. Israel might act alone, escalating unpredictably, the benefit of caution, avoiding catastrophic war and demonstrating the power of diplomacy. Every decision is a tightrope walk between escalation and perceived weakness. There are no good options, only choices with lasting consequences. This conflict's shockwaves are already shaking the global economy. The Middle East's oil choke points, especially the Strait of Hormuz, are vulnerable. Any disruption could trigger a worldwide energy crisis. Oil prices have spiked. A wider war could plunge billions into economic hardship. The crisis tests old alliances and forges new ones. Jordan's defense of Israel signals shifting regional dynamics. Sunni Arab states and Israel now quietly align against Iran. China and Russia's involvement turns the conflict into a proxy battleground for global power. If the U.S. is drawn in, it risks losing focus on other strategic priorities. For Beijing and Moscow, an overstretched America is a win. The stability of the international system is at stake. The rules that have prevented major wars are being tested. The world's security hangs in the balance. Amid talk of strategy and power, it's vital to remember the people caught in the crossfire. While governments and analysts debate tactics and alliances, real lives are upended in an instant. For millions of Israelis and Iranians, this is a terrifying reality, not a distant headline. The fear is immediate, the danger all too real. In Israel, families huddled in shelters as missiles rain down. Parents try to comfort their children as explosions echo above. In Iran, the Isfahan strike brought fear and uncertainty, leaving neighborhoods shaken and families unsure of what tomorrow will bring. Ordinary citizens bear the brunt, living under threat, sanctions, and the specter of war. Everyday routines are disrupted, and hope is often replaced by anxiety. Across the region, proxy wars have already devastated communities in Syria, where families have lost homes and loved ones. Lebanon, Iraq, and Yemen have all suffered, with countless families displaced and entire neighborhoods reduced to rubble. The direct confrontation between Iran and Israel threatens to make things even worse, risking a wider conflict that could engulf the region. Behind every missile and every strike are human stories. Families shattered, futures stolen, and communities left to pick up the pieces. The language of geopolitics can't mask the true cost: lost lives and broken communities that may never fully heal. As leaders weigh their next moves, it's the fate of ordinary people that hangs in the balance, their futures shaped by decisions far beyond their control. The world must not forget their suffering. Every act of compassion, every call for peace matters now more than ever. Every decision made in distant capitals has a human cost, echoing through the lives of those on the ground. The stakes are personal, not just political. In the end, it's the hopes and dreams of ordinary people that matter most. The world stands at a crossroads. One path: fragile de-escalation with diplomacy and global pressure pulling Iran and Israel back from the brink. Both sides might decide that open war is too costly, returning to shadow conflict instead. The alternative: a cycle of escalating retaliation, risking a regional war that could draw in the US and devastate the region. Washington's challenge is to support Israel's security while preventing a wider conflict. Coordination with allies and even rivals like China and Russia will be crucial. This crisis is a defining test for international diplomacy and the global balance of power. The choices made now will shape history. The world watches, hoping for wisdom and restraint. The future hangs in the balance.